Indianapolis Big 10 Championship Game. The Purdue Boilermakers. No one wanted to win the West of the Big 10 this year, but Purdue, you lucked into it with Aiden O'Connell, your quarterback. The Michigan Wolverines beating Ohio State for the second straight year. I won't dwell on that anymore, but making the Big 10 title game as well. Fresh, is there a way Purdue wins this game? I know they got some talent on that offense there for Purdue, but I just don't think they got the hogs to stop the running attack.
Well, if you look at that game last week, there were chances early. Ohio State was kind of in the football game. In the middle of third quarter, turnovers started happening, and they couldn't run the football. Purdue is going to have to find ways to run the football, or at least control and possess the football. And by that, sometimes use the passing game as a running game. Short little, jet screens, 2, 3, 4 yards, keep the clock going, keep that Michigan defense on the field, spread them out as best as possible. But you're going to have to be able to keep J.J. McCarthy and those Wolverines on the sideline because that offense, they will eventually wear you down. It's not going to be the first quarter. It's not going to be the second quarter. It's going to be the third, and it's going to be especially the fourth, where that pounding of the offensive line is going to eventually wear you down. Play action is going to hit you when you're expecting to run. They're going to hit big plays. If you looked at the football game early on, it wasn't really the running game. It was the suspense of the running game for Michigan. They had a couple play action passes. They had the halfback pass for a touchdown. And then as the game wore on, the guys were tired. They were scrambling. They were desperate. That's when the big run started coming late in the third and the fourth quarter. You've just got to play sound defense if you're Purdue, but Purdue's offense has got to be a much more bigger factor. You've got to find a way to score touchdowns, control the clock, put the pressure on Michigan. What Illinois did early is they jumped at them early, and they were able to handle the clock, handle time possession, and keep Michigan on the sideline and then play stout defense. That's the only way I can really see them getting a way to get through this football game. O'Connell playing the game of his life, but them not making mistakes and then playing defense and finding ways to score touchdowns. You cannot kick field goals if you want to pull off the upset. If I'm Michigan, I don't know Blake Corum's health status right now. I don't think you need to even dress him for this football game. Even if there's a doubt that he could play, I think you'll be okay not playing Blake Corum. You show you were good last week. Get him healthy. Give him another 3 to 4 weeks to get ready for the playoff. Because you'll definitely need him when you get into that playoff situation. I think Michigan has enough talent offensively and defensively to make this an easy affair for the fans in the stands. But we've seen crazy things happen. Purdue might have a chance, but I think Michigan wins, and they win big, and they cover.
Yeah. I'm trying to talk myself into Purdue more and more and seeing if there's any way, shape, or form that they could win this football game. The only thing that gave me hope is at times during the season, and I went over to, again, common opponent here. I went to the Purdue-Illinois game in this game. Purdue wound up handing Illinois their first loss of the season. The Boilermakers also were able to hold Chase Brown to 98 yards rushing, only averaged 4.3 yards a carry, and they put the game into Tommy DeVito's hands. Now, kid still threw for 201 yards there, and Chase Brown still had 2 short rushing touchdowns. But you saw, there's kind of this recipe for Purdue to beat that team. I'm going to say that you have to kind of do the exact same team. I think you're going to need a big game out of the defense. I think you're going to need a big game out of the wide receivers on Purdue. Aiden O'Connell is going to have to play the game of his life. Now, there's been times Aiden O'Connell threw for 365 yards against the Penn State defense. He threw earlier in this year for 391 yards against Nebraska. Nebraska's not very good. But then you take a look at 390 or 360 against Maryland as well. All of those games, Aiden O'Connell took it amongst himself. What we're going to need to see if Purdue's going to have any chance whatsoever, which I don't think that they're going to have one at all, because I'm looking at this here fresh. Michigan is a 16.5-point favorite. Purdue's going to have to channel that bowl game last year against Tennessee. And they just were... Purdue just put up point after point after point and said, you know what? Let's turn this into a track meet and force you to keep up with us. If Purdue wants to win this game, they got to score. They got to score fast. They got to score touchdowns, not field goals. And they got to really put the pressure on Michigan to keep up with them. Make Michigan, if you can stop them, if you got a turnover there, you need to capitalize, put some points on there. I don't think they can do that. We're talking about Tennessee's defense from last year to Michigan's defense this year. Michigan is a way better defense there. But if you want to say, like, what would give Purdue a chance, I would say that's got to be it. That's got to be their game plan. Michigan is got a lot of talent. McCarthy proved last weekend that he's got the ability to throw the ball. He was great when he had to move out of the pocket and run. He showed he had the talent to do that as well. I'll be interested to see Corum. I'll be interested to see him. I think for him, I think he needs to be able to go. I think for his mental well-being, I think he needs to be able to go. Because like you said, they're going to need him. I don't care if you're only playing the first quarter and let other guys handle it after that plays. But at the same time too, like, I think Corum is maybe starting to get into his head a little bit, and especially with knee injuries, that gets a little nerve-wracking for me. But I think Michigan is going to win this big, and they're going on to the playoff for the second straight year.
It's a great comparison of that Purdue Illinois game, very similar to the Purdue Minnesota game, where they went in on the road and shut down pretty good rushing attacks in Muhammad Ibrahim and Chase
Ibrahim
Brown.
Ibrahim didn't play in that game.
Well, Ibrahim, but still, they have a stable running
They
back, so they're
do.
able to take out a veteran team.
They do.
And going on the road, both those playing ugly football but winning. None of those games were pretty, but they found ways to play defense and run the football. But then the other side of it is they had clunkers versus Iowa and Wisconsin, where they got smoked against offenses that are putrid. So it's just like, which Purdue team offensively, defensively is going to show up on that Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think Purdue's going to have to play the game of their life. They're going to have to play the game of their life to win that game. So, and who knows? Then things would get really interesting on that one. But I don't see it happening. I really don't.